And we're back once again at Judges chapter 18, verse 9. And they said, Arise, that we may go up against them, for we have seen the land, and behold, it is very good. And are you still? But be not sloth to go and to enter to possess the land. Notes, are you still desirous to take the land? If you want to, you'd better do it now, is what they're saying. Verse 10. When you go, you shall come unto a people secure and to a large land, for God has given it into your hands, a place where there is no want of anything that is in the earth. Notes, now even though they used the name of God, there is no record that the Holy Spirit had allotted to the tribe of Dan this territory up north. And this was their own doings, and accordingly it would not turn out very well. Verse 11. And there went from thence of the family of the Danites out of Zorah and out of Eshtaol 600 men appointed with weapons of war. And they went up and pitched in Kirjath-jearim in Judah. Wherefore they called that place Mahane-Dan unto this day. Behold, it is behind Kirjath-jearim. And they passed thence unto Mount Ephraim, and came into the house of Micah. Then answered the 5 men who went to spy out the country of Laish, and said unto their brethren, Do you know that there is in these houses an ephod, and teraphim, and a graven image, and a molten image? Now therefore consider what you have to do. Notes, they're plotting to basically take these images. Verse 15. And they turned thitherward, and came to the house of the young man the Levite, even unto the house of Micah, and saluted him. And the 600 men appointed with their weapons of war, which are of the children of Dan, stood by the entering of the gate. And the 5 men who went to spy out the land went up and came in thither, and took the graven image, and the ephod, and the teraphim, and the molten image. And the priest stood in the entering of the gate with the 600 men who were appointed with weapons of war. And these went into Micah's house, and fetched the carved image, and ephod, and the teraphim, and the molten image. Then said the priest unto them, What are you doing? And they said unto him, Hold your peace, lay your hand upon your mouth, and go with us, and be to us a father and a priest. It is better for you to be a priest unto the house of one man, or that you be a priest unto the tribe and a family in Israel. And the priest's heart was glad, and he took the ephod, and the teraphim, and the graven image, and went in the midst of the people. Notes. Now, this probably sounds familiar, but the priest was basically for sale, and the tribe of Dan paid more, so he went with them. Such is religion. Anyways, verse 21. So they turned and departed, and put the little ones and the cattle and the carriage before them. Got to clear my throat. Verse 22. And when they were a good way from the house of Micah, the men who were in the houses near to Micah's house were gathered together, and overtook the children of Dan. Notes. A goodly number of men who were neighbors to Micah joined him to try to retrieve the stolen items from the children of Dan. Verse 23. And they cried unto the children of Dan, and they turned their faces, and said unto Micah, What ails you that you come with such a company? And he said, You have taken away my gods which I made, and the priests, and you are gone away, and what have I more? And what is this that you say unto me, What ails you? Notes. Now, it is very strange, but Micah worships gods which he made, and which can be taken by others, proving they're of no value. And yet almost all the modern world functions presently in the same manner. It worships gods that are made, and the God of religion is the biggest God of all. Verse 25. And the children of Dan said unto him, Let not your voice be heard among us, lest angry fellows run upon you, and you lose your life with the lives of your household. And the children of Dan went their way, and when Micah saw that they were too strong for him, he turned and went back unto his house. Verse 27. And they took the things which Micah had made, and the priest which he had, and came unto Laish, unto a people who were at quiet and secure. And they smote them with the edge of the sword, and burnt the city with fire, and there was no deliverer, because it was far from Zidon, and they had no business with any man. Notes. In other words, there was no deliverer for those of Laish. And it was in the valley that lies by Beth-rehob, and they built a city, and dwelt therein. And they called the name of the city Dan, after the name of Dan their father, who was born unto Israel. Howbeit the name of the city was Laish at the first. Notes. Now, the Holy Spirit, using the name of Israel in this verse, emphasizes the depth of the tribe of Dan's guilt in setting up idolatry. Verse 30. And the children of Dan set up the graven image, and Jonathan the son of Gershom, the son of Manasseh, he and his sons were priests to the tribe of Dan until the day of the captivity of the land. Notes. If you look back at the lineage, Jonathan was the grandson of Moses. So ashamed were the Jews of what this man had done, and so unwilling to dishonor Moses by publicly reading aloud his name in this verse, they instead used the name Manasseh in the place of Moses. Verse 31. And they set them up Micah's graven image, which he made all the time that the house of God was in Shiloh. Notes. Now, this is pretty obvious that all of this was forbidden by the Lord and therefore constituted idolatry, and worse still, Moses' grandson headed up this terrible form of idolatry. Chapter 19. And it came to pass in those days, when there was no king in Israel, that there was a certain Levite sojourning on the side of Mount Ephraim, who took to him a concubine out of Bethlehem, Judah. Notes. Now, exactly as to when this happened, we aren't really told. However, it was definitely before the time of Saul. The Lord said that Moses, because of the hardness of their hearts, suffered them to have more than one wife, but that in the beginning it was not so. The Levite, therefore, in having a secondary wife, they were called concubines, and it did not stand in a dishonorable relationship to her. Verse 2. And the concubine played the whore against him, and went away from him unto her father's house to Bethlehem, Judah, and was there 4 whole months. Now, notes, this woman, in sinning against her husband, little dreamed of the dreadful doom that would result from her action. The devil pays hard wages concerning this. And the terrible story pictures the misery, shame, and ruin that comes upon the heart that, unfaithful to the true husband, lives in guilty union with the world. The night in such a heart is a dark indeed, and all the world gives its abuse and not dishonor. Verse 25, go ahead and read that. Verse 3, and her husband arose and went after her to speak kindly unto her, and to bring her again, having his servant with him and a couple of asses. And she brought him unto her father's house, and when the father of the damsel saw him, he rejoiced to meet him. Verse 4, and his father-in-law, the damsel's father, retained him, and he abode with him 3 days, so they did eat and drink and lodged there. And we must pick up in chapter 19, verse 5 of Judges. Thank you very much, and God bless.